A woman's scream tears through the sterile silence of a hospital room. This isn't just any birth. It's a high-risk delivery of triplets she fought for years to conceive. Her name is Ilara Vance, and she is utterly alone. Miles away, the man who promised to love her in sickness and in health, Millionaire CEO Damian Vance is slipping a diamond ring onto the finger of another woman. He's abandoning his wife and unborn children at their most vulnerable moment for a life of power and passion with his mistress. But what Damian doesn't know is that a secret from his wife's past is about to walk through the doors of his lavish wedding and shatter his world in a way he never could have imagined. This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's a story of a reckoning that will shake an empire to its core. The pain was a white-hot supernova exploding behind Ilara Vance's eyes and contracting into a crushing vice around her abdomen. It wasn't a wave anymore. It was a relentless, roaring ocean, and she was drowning in it. The rhythmic beep of the fetal heart monitors was the only percussion to her guttural screams, a frantic triple-time beat that sounded more like a countdown to catastrophe than a promise of life. Breathe with me, Ilara. Come on. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The nurse's voice was a calm, distant shore Ilara couldn't reach. Dr. Chen's face, usually a mask of professional composure, was etched with concern.
I'll tell you this much.
Her blood pressure is spiking again. We need to keep her calm. Where is her husband? The question hung in the air, more painful than any contraction. Where is Damian? Just 6 hours ago, she had been at home packing the final items into the hospital bag. Her enormous belly, a testament to the 3 tiny lives nestled within, made every movement a monumental effort. They were their miracle babies, the result of 5 grueling years of IVF, countless injections, devastating disappointments, and finally one tearful, triumphant ultrasound. Damian had held her, his hand splayed across her stomach, and whispered, "Everything we've ever wanted, Ellie. Our legacy." His phone had buzzed on the counter. A text message. He'd glanced at it, his face tightening for just a fraction of a second, before smoothing back into a placid smile. "It's just Abernathy, the lawyer. A final detail on the Rossi merger. I have to go sign the papers. It's a formality. I'll be back in 2 hours tops. You just rest." He'd kissed her forehead, his lips cool and brief, and walked out the door of their sprawling Manhattan penthouse. An hour later, the first contraction had seized her sharp and unforgiving. She'd called him. It went straight to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. A cold dread, slick and oily, began to seep into her veins. She texted, "It's happening. The babies are coming. Call me." No reply. Then a new message popped up on her screen. It wasn't from Damian. It was from a number she didn't recognize, a group chat she'd been accidentally added to. The message read, "Florist confirms all white orchid arrangements have been delivered to the St. Regis Ballroom. See you at the altar. Isabella."
He's a top 5 point
The
guard
world
guaranteed of
tilted.
all time, right?
St. Regis.
Let's
Isabella.
just look at the point guard.
Isabella
You
Rossi.
have a Magic
The
Johnson.
impossibly chic, raven-haired daughter of Marco
Isaiah
Rossi,
Thomas. I'm
the
talking
head of the rival
Pistons,
tech
Isaiah
giant
Thomas.
Damian's company
You
was
have
supposedly
Steph
merging
Curry,
with.
right?
Ilara had
You
met
have-
her
and
once at
people
a charity
don't even wanna
gala.
argue
She'd
Steph
watched
Curry.
Isabella
Who's the
laugh, a
shooting guard,
throaty,
right?
confident sound, as she'd placed
You
a
have-
perfectly
and then right
manicured
there, I
hand
think
on
John
Damian's
Stockton,
arm.
Chris
Damian
Paul,
had laughed it
and,
off.
I'd say Chris
"She's a
Paul
shark, Ellie.
or John
You have to play the
I'd say Chris
game."
Paul's sort of interchangeable
Her
with, like, a
fingers
Jason
trembling had
Kidd
typed a
or, like,
frantic
a
search
Steve
into her
Nash,
web
right?
browser,
The way
Damian
that you are
Vance,
going to
Isabella
remember Chris
Rossi
Paul
wedding.
is being one of
The result
greatest
hit her like a
floor
physical
generals
blow.
in NBA
A society
history.
blog
When he was on the
posted
floor,
that
he
very
was
morning,
orchestrating a
billion-dollar
beauty and
merger
offense. So the
sealed
fact
with a
that they
kiss
cut
tech
him-
mogul, Damian Vance, to
in the
wed
midst of the
heiress
farewell
Isabella
tour? He
Rossi
just
in a
announced it
surprise
last week
ceremony
that
today
this is
at
going
the
to be
St.
his last
Regis.
season in the NBA.
The screen blurred.
I'll tell y'all this
The phone
much, man.
slipped from her
As
hand
somebody that
and
grew up
clattered to the marble
with the
floor.
late 2000s and 2010s
A lie of
basketball,
such monumental, soul-crushing cruelty.
legends that
This
I
wasn't
grew
a
up
business
watching,
merger.
like LeBron
It was a
James,
life
like Dwayne
merger.
Wade, who retired.
He wasn't
like
signing
Carmelo
papers.
Anthony, who retired.
He was signing
like
a
Chris
marriage
Bosh, who was
certificate.
forced to retire with blood clots.
While she was here, her
Like
body
Chris
tearing
Paul,
itself
like,
apart to bring
I
his
mean,
children, their
Dirk
children
Nowitzki,
into the
who's
world.
retired.
He was celebrating
The
a
list
new
can go
life
on. Tim
with
Duncan,
another
Manu
woman.
Ginobili, Tony Parker.
The betrayal was a physical entity coiling
all
in her
these
gut,
players,
more
man.
agonizing than the labor
And then
itself.
to see Chris
The
Paul
pain
being
in her
done
body
like
was
this
for her
is
children.
depressing. I forgot
The pain in her soul was from their father.
It's
Elara,
just sad because
we need you to
my whole
focus,
thing is
Durchen's
now,
voice
like,
cut
I
through
see
the
people on
fog.
Twitter talking
Baby C's
about
heart rate is
how,
decelerating
Chris
with
Paul
the
can go finally
contractions.
get that ring.
We might need to
Go
move to an
sign that.
emergency
Go
C-section.
sign with the Oklahoma
Panic
City Thunder. Go
clawed
get
at her
yourself a
throat.
guaranteed ring.
No. I can
think
do
y'all
this,
truly understand.
she
The
gasped.
Oklahoma
The
City
words
Thunder.
ripped
We're
from
actually
her.
gonna talk
She
about
had
them
to be
in
strong.
today's podcast. I know
For
we
them.
never talk about the
Liam,
the
Noah,
Thunder,
and
but we're
Amelia.
actually going to be talking
The
about
names
them.
they had chosen together
Okay.
on a rainy Sunday, tracing them on her belly.
They can't sign
Had
Chris
he been
Paul.
thinking of
The
Isabella
Thunder, I just
even
want to
then?
talk briefly on that.
She squeezed
They
her
cannot
eyes shut,
sign
trying to block
Chris
out
Paul.
the image of Damien in a
People are
tuxedo,
fighting for their
smiling
roster
at his
spots
new
in
bride.
Oklahoma.
Alone,
Like, when I
tethered
tell
to
you
machines
how deep they
and
are,
drowning
they are that
in
deep where they
agony.
can't afford to have a
Elara
veteran just
Vance did the
occupying a
only
spot
thing
on the
she
bench.
could.
Now, if they wanted to bring
She
him in
reached
as
for
an
her
assistant
personal
coach,
phone,
sure.
ignoring
At
the
least get a ring
calls
that
from
way,
her
but it wouldn't
mother-in-law
count as a
that she knew were
championship
just
ring
for
in the resume
show.
on Basketball Reference. It
Her
would count as a
fingers
ring
fumbled
that he
slick
coached
with
for.
sweat as she
So,
found the one number she
My-
hadn't called in
my
5
issue with this is
years.
the way they went about
The
it,
one
right?
person she had
It's the
pushed
way they
away
went about
because
it.
Damien
Ladies
had
and gentlemen,
insisted he
boys and
wasn't
girls,
good
let's
enough
say the
for their
Clippers
new
right
life.
now, we're a top 3 team in the West.
She pressed the
Let's
call
say
button.
Kawhi
It rang
plays all his
once,
games. Let's say Harden
twice.
plays all his games. Let's
A
say
deep,
Zubac,
authoritative
Derrick
voice
Jones Jr.,
answered.
And Bradley Beal. Well, okay,
Sarah.
maybe not Bradley Beal.
"What is
Let's
it?
say this whole
Is your
team
sister
healthy,
okay?"
happy, and they're playing
Tears
well,
streamed down
right?
her face,
This
hot
doesn't
and
happen.
furious. "It's me," Elara
So for
choked
you to
out her
come out,
voice, a
Lawrence
raw
Frank,
whisper
I
between
haven't forgiven
gasps
Lawrence
of
Frank
pain.
what he did in Detroit, by the way.
Sarah gave me the phone.
For what?
I need
The way
you.
that you did this, and
Please.
and with what
He's-
you said,
He's marrying her.
you're telling me it's
Right
not
now.
because
And the
he
babies.
underperformed.
They're coming.
You're telling me it's because
There was a pause
of
on the
just
other end of the
like,
line.
just reasons.
A silence so profound it felt like the
Yeah, you know
world
what,
was holding
Lawrence
its
Frank,
breath.
Clippers org.
Then
I
the
wish you
voice came
nothing
back stripped of all
but
warmth
poverty for
and
the rest
forged
of
into
your
something
existence.
cold, hard,
I know you
and
just got
dangerous.
that new arena, Intuit Dome.
Where is he, Elara?
Don't care.
Give
The
me the
wall,
address.
Don't care.
The
I
St. Regis
hope-
Ballroom was a
I've never
symphony
farted on
in
somebody's
white
downfall
and
like this,
gold.
but I hope
Cascading
that
arches of white
aspirations
orchids
thing,
flown
that
in
whole
from Hawaii that
paying
morning
Kawhi
perfumed
under
the
table.
air
In case
with a
you don't
cloying
know, let me just
sweetness.
explain so that, you know,
A string
all my
quartet
basketball
played
nerds and non-nerds
Vivaldi,
understand what
the
I'm referring
elegant
to when I talk
notes
about this.
weaving through the soft murmur of
Kawhi
New
Leonard
York's high
was
society.
reportedly getting
Everything
paid
was perfect.
under the table
Everything was a statement of
from a
power.
charity group called
Damien
Aspirations at
Vance
Plant
stood at the
Street.
altar, a vision of bespoke Tom Ford
Steve Ballmer,
perfection.
former, like,
He adjusted his
COO
cufflinks, the
of
custom-made
Microsoft,
gold
the owner
ones
of the
bearing
Los
the
Angeles
new
Clippers.
merged
And it's
logo
reported
of
that he
Vance
was
Rossi
partnered with this
Industries.
Aspirations
He felt a
company,
bead
that
of
Plant
sweat
Street,
trickle
and was
down his
paying them
temple
$45
and dabbed it
million
away with a silk
to then
handkerchief.
give to Kawhi Leonard
He told
for
himself it was the
supposedly
heat from the
partnering
television
with them.
lights.
A
The press had been
charitable
invited to capture the
charitable
end of the
organization.
ceremony, the ultimate PR
So,
move.
That's being
The
under
merger
investigation.
wasn't
That's being
just a
investigated
deal.
right now. And I'll just
It
tell
was a
y'all,
dynasty.
I hope
He glanced at the
hope
front
that
row.
this is true.
Marco
I hope
Rossi,
he really
his
did
new
get paid under the table. I
father-in-law,
hope this
gave him a
franchise
curt, approving nod.
never sees the light of
Marco
success.
was a
Blow it
piranha
up,
in a
trade Harden
Savile
to
Row
Detroit,
suit,
trade Kawhi
and this
to Miami,
marriage was the final
blow
clause in a
it
ruthless
up.
contract.
If he
With
sees
this
Zubac,
union, their
go to
combined
Boston.
companies would crush all competition.
This is
It was a move
unbelievable.
that would cement Damien's
read what the
legacy,
homie Saint
elevating
said.
him from a
Yeah.
mere
He said,
millionaire
"That home is so
CEO
disrespectful
to a
way
titan
to say
of
someone is getting
industry.
cut. I can't believe this. I am
A legend.
disgusted.
He had rationalized it all.
Just somebody that has
Elara Lara,
watching Chris Paul.
she had become
You waited until he
fragile.
did his farewell tour. You waited until he announced
The pregnancy had consumed her. She was emotional, swollen, needy, She was a relic of his past, a past he was aggressively shedding. This was evolution, survival of the fittest.
I just had to get that off my
Isabella
chest. I hope
was
you
his
all understand.
future. She was
Chris Paul's
sleek,
one of my favorite players of all time that
ambitious,
never got to see
and
success.
understood that
Chris
love
Paul,
was a
when we look back at him,
transaction,
is going
and
to be the
marriage
Charles
was the
Barkley of
ultimate
the
leveraged
90s.
buyout. The
The way that
music
people talk about
swelled.
Charles Barkley
The great
is the way that we're
doors at
going
the
to be talking
back of
about
the
Chris Paul.
ballroom opened,
Because
and
funny
there she
enough,
was,
you don't really hear
Isabella
Karl Malone,
Rossi.
John
She was
Stockton. You don't really hear
breathtaking,
their
a
names
viper
come
in
up when
couture.
you talk about legends
Her
without
gown
rings.
a
It always
slinky,
goes back to one
backless
man,
creation
that's Charles
by
Barkley.
Jay.
So I think
Mendel
that's sort of
clung
gonna
to her
happen
like
to
a
our generation
second
as well.
skin.
We're not really going
Her
to be
dark
talking
hair
about
was
Carmelo
swept up
Anthony
in an
never getting a ring.
elaborate
We're never really
chignon,
going to talk about
and a
Tracy
diamond
McGrady or
necklace,
Vince Carter
a
never
wedding
getting a ring.
gift from
We're
Damien,
probably all
purchased
going
with
to resort to
funds
talking
from a
about
joint
Chris Paul. You know
account he
why?
shared with
Because he was the
Alara,
most
sparkled
successful
at her throat.
individually out of all
Her
these
smile
other
was a
players of this
triumphant
generation.
slash of red lipstick.
Argue with a wall.
It didn't reach
Chris
her
Paul
eyes.
is
Her
top
eyes
five
were
in his
fixed
position
on Damien,
of all
and
time.
in them he
You
saw
can't say
not
the same thing about a
adoration,
T-Mac, a
but the
Vince Carter, or
cool,
Carmelo
calculating
Anthony.
appraisal of
You
a
can say the
business
same thing for
partner
Charles
who
Barkley
had
as well
just
in his
closed
position.
the deal of a
Let's move on to
lifetime.
another depressing
As she walked
topic.
down the aisle on her father's arm,
Because if you
Damien's
think that that's
mind
going
for
to
a
help the Los
fleeting,
Angeles
traitorous
Clippers, it
moment
ain't.
flashed to Alara.
Yeah,
He
none of this
pictured
would have
her in
ever
the
happened
hospital,
if David
her
Stern
face
didn't block
pale,
that Chris
her
Paul
body
trade
racked with pain.
to the Los
He saw the
Angeles Lakers, who
ultrasound
are
pictures
absolutely
of the
correct.
3 tiny
Let's move
heartbeats
on
taped to their fridge.
to another
He felt a
segment
pang
in the-
not of
let's
guilt,
move on to another topic
but of
in this segment
annoyance.
I'd like to call Nothing to
It was
Smile
an
About in My Life.
inconvenient,
Thank you, John.
messy detail in an otherwise
Zion
flawless
Williamson
plan.
will
He had sent his
continue to
lawyer,
sit
Mr.
out for
Abernathy,
New
to the
Orleans
hospital
Pelicans
with
for
a
an extended
prepared
amount of time.
statement and a team of legal representatives.
With a right
Abernathy
adductor
would handle
injury,
the divorce.
he will be
He would offer
reevaluated
Alara a
in 3
generous
weeks.
settlement,
Now, mind
a
you,
golden
everybody,
cage for
that does
her
not mean
and
that
the
he will be
children
back in
far
3
from
weeks.
his new
That means
life.
he will be reevaluated.
She would be taken care of. It
in
was
3
clean.
weeks.
It was business.
You guys
Isabella
understand
reached
what's
the
going on
altar
here?
and placed her cool
Zion
hand in
Williamson
his.
returned November 19th after missing
The
just over
officiant,
2 weeks with
a man
hamstring
whose
injury.
fee could have
Playing in
paid for
5
a
of the
year
Pelicans'
of
past 7
college,
games before
began to
sustaining his
speak
adductor
in
strain,
sonorous,
which will
meaningless
sideline him
tones.
for a much
We are
longer
gathered here
period.
today to witness the union of 2
Zion
powerful
freaking
souls, Damien
Williamson.
Vance and Isabella
Ladies and
Rossi.
gentlemen, did you know that he's 25
Damien
years old?
tuned it out,
Did you guys
focusing
know
on the
that?
future, the stock
next
options,
generational
the
talent,
headlines.
the most
the
hyped up
power.
prospect
He was a
since LeBron
king,
James.
and Isabella was his queen. Meanwhile, in a
he's out
black
again.
Lincoln Navigator speeding through
Zion,
Manhattan traffic,
Zion,
a different
Zion.
kind
You
of
fooled me
power
again, my
was
boy.
at play.
You fooled
The
me
man in the back seat
again.
didn't speak. He stared out the window
I
at
fell
the
for this
blur
3
of the
years
city,
ago.
his face
I
a
fell for this
granite
2 years
mask.
ago. Last
His
year I
name
fell for it as well,
was Marcus
averaging 27
Thorne,
points
and for the
on,
last 5 years,
what,
he had been a
35 or 40
ghost
games played?
in his
50?
daughter's life.
I don't know.
When Alara had brought Damien home,
Zion Williamson,
Marcus, a
my
man
boy.
who had spent 30 years on the bench as
I
a federal
fell for
judge,
it
had seen
again.
him for exactly what he was,
You
a
got
charlatan,
skinny,
with a
you
charming
cut off
smile
all the fat,
and an empty soul.
You came into the
He'd seen the
offseason
avarice in
ripped,
Damien's eyes the way he
skinny,
looked at Alara,
shoulders like
not with
prime
love,
David Robinson,
but with a sense of acquisition.
a jawline
Marcus had voiced his
sculpted from the
concerns
Greek gods
calmly,
themselves.
rationally. He doesn't love you, Ellie,
And
he
I
had
fell
said,
for it again.
his heart breaking. He loves what
5
you
games into the
represent,
season.
old money respectability, a door into a
Now,
world
5
he
games
wants
into
to
the season.
conquer.
You're out
Alara,
again.
blinded by love, and Damien's
You're
carefully
getting
constructed
reevaluated,
facade had
just
accused
like
him
you
of being
always
a
have been.
snob, of trying to
You're
control her
averaging 22
life.
points,
The
5.5
fight had been
rebounds, 4
brutal,
assists, a steal and a
ending
half,
with
half a
Alara
block,
screaming, "I
31
choose
minutes a
him,"
game,
and
51%
storming
from the
out.
field, 0%
They
from
hadn't
3.
spoken since, save
This
for a
is
few
just
stilted holiday
absolutely
cards.
depressing.
The estrangement was a wound
He
in
played
Marcus's soul that had
in
never
his rookie
healed.
year,
He had kept
24
tabs on
games.
her, of course, through her
In his
sister
second
Sarah.
year, 61.
He knew about the struggles with IVF, the joy
30
of
or
the triplet
29.
pregnancy. And he had
Fourth year,
used his own
70.
resources,
He
his
played
network of
70
old
games,
friends in the
dog.
FBI and the SEC to keep a quiet
30
file
games last
on
year,
Damien
averaging
Vance.
25
He'd
points per
suspected
game.
Damien was cutting corners, but he never imagined a betrayal
played
this
10 games.
depraved.
Already.
His phone buzzed. It was
I
Sarah.
fell for it again, man.
She's at Lenox Hill
I said,
Hospital.
maybe
They're prepping her
every
for a
other
C-section.
season,
One of the
Zion
babies is in
Williamson
distress.
plays a lot of games.
Please, Uncle
Because I
Marcus,
knew he played 70,
destroy
I knew
him.
He played 61. So I was thinking
The
going
judge's
into this
knuckles
year,
turned
okay, so he
white
plays a
as he
little
gripped
amount
his
of games
phone.
and then plays a lot of games.
Destroy him.
Plays a little amount of games, then plays a lot
That
of
was
games.
too simple.
Plays a little
Destruction was
games,
quick.
and then plays a lot of
Damian
games.
Vance
I
deserved
thought that
something
this year,
slower,
that
a
pattern was going
meticulous
to
public
follow.
and
I thought
legally
that tradition was
airtight
going to
dismantling
continue,
of his
where he
entire
doesn't play,
existence.
then he plays a lot,
The Lincoln
then he doesn't
screeched
play,
to
then
a
he plays
halt
a
in front
lot.
of the St. Regis.
But it looks like it's
A
not going
doorman
to
rushed
happen, because if
forward,
he's
his
getting
face a mask
reevaluated
of
in another 3
polite
weeks,
inquiry.
that means at minimum,
Judge
he's
Marcus
going to be
Thorne
missing
stepped
another
out
10
of the
to
vehicle.
15 games,
He
and
was not a
that's
physically imposing
reevaluated,
man,
ladies and gentlemen.
but he moved with
That
an
is
aura of unshakable authority
reevaluated.
that made people
Not back in
instinctively
3
take a
weeks.
step back.
Reevaluated.
He wasn't armed with a weapon.
Zion,
He was
I am
armed with the
fully
law,
What does this
and he
mean
was
for the New
about to
Orleans
wield
Pelicans?
it like a
Well,
sledgehammer.
Let me explain.
He
There's a couple
strode
teams in
past
this
the
NBA
doorman
right now that
through
I
the
think should
opulent lobby
absolutely just
and
blow
towards the sound of
her
Vivaldi.
up. Blow her up, man.
The 2
Blow
security guards
her
at the
up.
ballroom door
You ready?
hired for the event
You got the
moved to
Pelicans.
block his
And
path.
number 1,
Private event, sir.
blow it up.
I need to see your
I'm
invitation.
done.
Judge
Get
Thorne
rid of
didn't
Zion.
break his
Get
stride.
whatever scrap
He
you
looked
can
at the
get out of
first
him,
guard,
because
his
it's over.
gaze so cold
Just
and
take what you
intense.
can get at this
It was
point.
like being pinned by a shard of ice.
Get something.
I am
Second-round
United
pick,
States
a young
District
player, an
Judge
expiring
Marcus
contract,
Thorne,
something.
he said, his
Move
voice
on.
quiet,
Okay?
yet carrying the weight of a death
Should I even look
sentence.
at the rest of this roster? 'Cause
And
we
I
all
am the
know
father of the
I think
bride.
you got to get rid of Sadiq Bey.
The
He can
real
do well
bride.
On a,
Now
he can do
get out
well
of
on a
my
contender.
way. The guards,
Alvarado,
suddenly
he can do
looking
well
like
on a
boys
contender. Get
playing
rid of him as
dress-up,
well. I think
practically
Jose was
stumbled
great
over
for,
each
like,
other
the
to
Warriors,
open the
for
doors.
example, right?
Inside the
Jeremiah
ballroom,
Fears,
the officiant
that's
was
your young
reaching
player.
his crescendo. Do you, Damian Vance, take
what's his
Isabella
name? Derek
Rossi to
Queen?
be your lawfully wedded
That's
wife?
your young player.
Damian's smile was predatory. I do.
Everybody
And
else
do you,
other
Isabella
than
Rossi, take bang?
Missy.
The great
Get rid
ballroom
of him.
doors
I'm
slammed
talking
open,
Trey Murphy.
echoing like a
I'm talking
gunshot
Jordan
in the
Poole.
hushed space.
I'm talking Herb
The
Jones.
music faltered
Get rid of him.
and died.
Get any value you can
Every
out of this
head
roster that you've
turned.
poorly constructed.
There,
And
framed
start
in the
over.
doorway, stood
You
Judge
got
Marcus
Fears, you got
Thorne.
Queen, blow the
He
rest
walked
up.
down
Blow
the
it up.
aisle, his footsteps silent
Because at this
on the
point,
thick
this
carpet,
is
but
almost
deafening
to the
in
point
the
of being
sudden
unsalvageable.
absolute
They're
silence.
talking about relocation.
He wasn't
They're talking
shouting.
about deleting your franchise.
He wasn't
They're
running.
talking about moving your ass to
He
Seattle.
was a force
They're
of
talking
nature,
about
calm
being the
and
worst
inexorable,
franchise in
and he was
existence in
heading
NBA
straight for
history.
the altar.
Blow it
The
up.
world
Try
seemed
one
to
last
move
time.
in
If
slow
all
motion.
else fails,
Damian's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic
Unfortunately,
bird
there's no
trapped
other
in a cage of his
resolution other
own
than
making.
relocating.
Who was this man?
And I don't
He
want to
looked
see that
vaguely
happen.
familiar,
I talked to
a
lot of
ghost from a
Supersonics
distant
fans,
past.
and
But the
I
sheer
don't
force of
wanna
his
see
presence scrambled
another
Damian's
franchise
thoughts.
sorry,
He
another
radiated
city
an
lose.
authority that had nothing to do with money
Because
or
I don't know if you
corporate
guys need a
titles.
quick reminder,
It was
I will
older,
never
deeper,
forget
and far more
that
terrifying.
year that Anthony
Isabella's
Davis
perfectly
dragged
painted
that team
smile tightened into a
seed,
venomous
and
line.
they had the I'm just talking out the
Security,
dome right now.
she hissed her
And they-
voice
and
a
they
sharp
had
crack in
that
the silence.
whole sea of red
Remove
shirts
this
in the
man.
crowd. You
The
guys
two
know what I'm
guards who had
talking
been
about,
at the
right?
door took a hesitant step forward,
Steph Curry,
but stopped
they
dead
inbounded
when
the
Judge
ball,
Thorne turned
1
his
versus
head
8 seed.
slightly
Steph Curry
and
had the
leveled
ball
his
in the corner,
gaze at them.
missed the three.
It was all it took.
Andre Iguodala got the rebound.
They froze,
passed it
rooted
back
to the
out
spot.
Curry, shot another three
Marcus
in the corner,
Thorne
got
reached the
tackled
altar
by
and stopped,
Anthony Davis
not
and
before
another player, I
Damian,
don't
but
remember.
beside him,
They did
as if he
call foul,
belonged
but
there.
Curry hit that three. You guys know
He
what I'm
ignored
talking
Isabella
about.
completely,
The fans
his eyes
show
locking
up.
onto Damian's.
They
Damian
have a
felt
lot of
himself
fans in
shrink
the
under
city.
that
I would
gaze,
hate
the
to see
carefully
them lose their
constructed
team.
edifice of the powerful
You can get a
CEO
couple
crumbling
second-round
to
picks,
reveal the
maybe a
frightened,
first
greedy
if you're
man
lucky.
beneath.
I wouldn't trade a first
The ceremony
round
is
pick for
over,
Zion. In
the
case you
judge
guys don't
stated.
know, with
It wasn't
the
a
new
request.
CBA deal with the
It
new
was a
second
verdict.
apron, teams do not want to
Marco
trade their
Rossi.
first-round picks. I think what you
Isabella's
saw with
father
the whole
surged
Desmond
to
Bane
his
trade is
feet.
going to be the last time in a
Who
long
the
time
hell
that
do you
see
think
that
you
many
are?
first-round picks.
You're ruining my
Same with
daughter's wedding.
Mikal Bridges.
Marcus turned his
You're not
head
going
slowly
see
to
that
face
sort of
him.
package go out anymore,
I
especially for a
am
player of
Judge
Zion's
Marcus
lack of
Thorne.
availability.
And you, Mr. Rossi, might want to sit down
So
and
yeah,
listen
here's
very
what we're doing,
carefully,
man.
as what I'm
Here's
about
what
to
we're doing.
say will
We're
have
talking about
significant
what's next for a
implications for
franchise
the
that is
future
still
of your
fresh.
company,
In case
your
you guys don't
daughter,
remember, it was
and
the
your
New Orleans
potential
Hornets.
son-in-law.
That's where Chris Chris Paul played.
He let the title
And then,
hang in the air,
they
dripping
changed
with
the New Orleans
sarcasm.
Pelicans when the Hornets
A
changed
ripple
the
of
broadcast
whispers
and then
spread
got their
through the
name back to
crowd.
The Charlotte Hornets.
Judge Thorne,
You could argue
the
that the Charlotte
iron
Hornets are the
gavel
worst
of the
franchise in
Southern
NBA history.
District.
You could argue that. In
What
my
was he
opinion,
doing
it's either
here?
The Hornets or the Pelicans. And
Damien
it's
finally
it's
found
just-
his voice,
It's depressing.
though it was
It's
strained.
depressing. But what I will
This
say,
is a private matter. Whatever issue you have, we can discuss it later. Now please leave.
Or you can be a Bulls
Oh,
fan.
this is no longer a private matter,
century.
Mr. Vance.
It
The
could-
judge countered his
could
voice,
be worse.
dangerously
It could
soft.
always be worse.
He
like
produced
you
a
said.
folded
And that's
document from the
something that
inside of his
You
jacket.
should learn.
This is a matter of public record.
That's
Or
something that
it will be
people
in
should
about
look at.
5
It could
minutes when my
always be
clerk
worse.
files it electronically.
As a Pistons fan, I have
He
suffered
unfolded the paper.
for most of my life.
This is an
I have
emergency
suffered. I was
ex
born in
parte
98.
injunction. It
For
legally
most of my
prohibits
life,
you from
I have
entering
suffered
into
with
any
my team.
marital or financial contract until a
So
full
I
hearing
understand
can
that
be
it might-
conducted.
It might be
Isabella
correct,
laughed, a harsh, ugly sound.
but at
On what
least you're not the
grounds?
Sacramento Kings or
This
the
is
Chicago
insane.
Bulls.
He's a free man.
I see a guy named Matt
Is
on
he?
TikTok saying,
Judge
"Hey,
Thorne's
man,
eyes
Bullseye.
glinted.
The Bulls are not.
The grounds
In
are
fact, I think
threefold.
they are so far from
First,
being
spousal
I,
abandonment
and
under
it's bad,
extreme
man.
medical
It's bad.
duress.
Because the Chicago
You see,
Bulls,
while you are standing
if
here
Montez
amongst the
Buzelis does
orchids,
one
your
thing wrong,
actual
he gets
wife,
yanked by
Elara
Bogdanovich.
Vance,
You don't
is
play your
currently in
12th
an
round-
operating
sorry,
room
you don't
at
play your
Lenox
12th
Hill
pick.
Hospital,
The Chicago
undergoing an
Bulls don't
emergency
care
C-section
about
to
being
deliver
young,
your 3
being
children.
bad and then being good.
A collective
They care about
gasp
being
went through the
mediocre,
ballroom.
and that is the
The
heart of
reporters
what
in the
being a
back
Chicago
began
Bulls fan
scribbling
is.
furiously, their phones held up to record.
They're
This
gonna
was no
trade for
longer
Anthony
a
Davis
society wedding.
and just stay in
It was the
mediocrity.
scandal of the
That's
decade.
it. That's all
Damien
Chicago Bulls care
paled.
about. They care about money.
That's a lie.
And as long as they're
She's not
getting
due
money
for
in their
another 2
pockets from a-
weeks.
from a big
Apparently,
name
your
fee,
triplets didn't
that's what
consult your
matters.
social calendar,
I'm gonna read
the
this
judge retorted
mention, or this
icily.
message in the YouTube
Which
chat.
brings me
This
to
guy
the
said,
second
"They will
grounds,
never leave
dissipation
Noah.
of
Y'all
marital
so
assets.
dumb."
For
Gail
instance,
Benson
this
already
rather
said,
extravagant
"Never
party,
sell." And when
the
she
ring
dies,
on
she
your
sold
new
the city to someone that
friend's
has-
finger,
keep the team
the
in the
signing
city.
bonus
It's in
you
her
wired
will.
to a private
Stay on the
account for Mr.
relocation.
Rossi this
No,
morning.
bud.
You have been
literally said
systematically
that they're not going to get
liquidating
relocated. I don't know why
assets
you're
that
so
belong
angry.
by law
All right,
to
I'm
the
gonna be more
marital
careful
estate
about what I read.
you share with
Yeah,
Elara,
yo, I thought that was
funds that were
actual
in part
intellectual comment.
earmarked
My
for the
fault, bro.
Triplets
My fault.
trust
I
funds.
thought you were going to say a point that was of
Marco
value,
Rossi's
but
face went from
yeah, thank you for
purple
letting
with
me know that Gail
rage
Benson has the
to
Pelicans in her
ashen
will.
white.
That's awesome.
The
That's
side
awesome.
deal.
Yeah, go Bears. Go
How
Bears,
could this
man.
man know about
Okay,
the private
ladies and gentlemen,
wire
before I move on from
transfer?
this topic,
And the
I do wanna
third
say if
ground,
you guys are
Judge.
enjoying the live
Thorne
morning
continued.
show, you would enjoy it so much more.
His
in
voice
the Twitch
dropping
stream,
each word,
where
a hammer
you can
blow,
interact
is
with me,
fraud.
actually get all of your messages read,
Damien's
connect with my
blood
community,
ran
and
cold.
hang out with all of us in a
Fraud.
nice tight-knit group.
That's
Okay, so if you
preposterous.
are in the
My
TikTok,
company
you
is an
are on
open
YouTube,
book. We'll see
be
about
sure
that, the judge said, his
to
eyes
come through
boring
the
into
Twitch stream if
Damien's.
you're wondering what the
But
Twitch
this
stream is.
injunction
It's
isn't
Stacey
about your company.
Uncut.
It's about you. You see,
We do these
Mr.
sports talks every
Vance, in
morning,
the state
Monday
of
through
New
Friday at
York,
9
a
a.m.
marriage
Eastern.
is a
The Twitch
contract.
link is in
And you
my
cannot enter
TikTok
into this
bio,
contract with
okay?
Ms. Rossi,
I hope
because
to
you
see
are
guys
still
come
very
through.
much
Drop a
married
follow and
to
I'll
my
give you guys a
daughter.
shout out. Don't worry.
The final 2 words
follow on
landed
Twitch
with
and
the
I'll give you
force
a
of a
shout out.
physical explosion.
Okay, so like
My
I said,
daughter.
Bulls fans, it could
The
always
puzzle
be worse.
pieces
You could be the
slammed
Sacramento
into
Kings.
place in
You could be the
Damien's
Chicago
mind
Bulls.
with
So,
nauseating clarity.
unfortunately, I don't have
Elara's
much
estranged father,
I
the
can
one
say
she
about
never
that,
talked
guys. I'm
about,
sorry, Pels
the
fans.
federal
I'm
judge,
with y'all, man.
the man
I
he had
understand.
dismissed
It
as
will
a
get
civil
better.
servant
You got fears
who
and you got
didn't
greed.
understand ambition.
Now,
He had
we already talked
grossly,
about the Clippers,
catastrophically
what they did to Chris Paul.
underestimated
So
the
guys,
man
if
he
you
had
are
wronged.
upset that you-
This
that you
wasn't a
missed that
random
segment,
act of a
be sure,
concerned
drop a
citizen.
follow, and remember that we go
This was
live every
personal.
morning at 9 a.m. Eastern.
This
Monday
was a
through Friday,
father's
9 a.m. Eastern.
retribution.
All right? Okay.
Isabella
Let's move
stared
on
at Damien,
to our
her
next
eyes
segment,
wide with
y'all,
disbelief
which
and
is
fury.
Last night's game.
His daughter.
Last night's game.
You told me
The
she
game
was an
on
orphan,
the
that her
Cock.
family was dead.
The game on the
Damien
Cock,
couldn't
on
speak.
Peacock, NBC.
His throat
The
had closed
Boston
up.
Celtics
He had lied,
outlast
of
the
course.
New York Knicks
He had scrubbed Elara's
123
history, presenting her as a
to
beautiful but
117.
tragic figure with no connections,
talked about the Knicks
no
yet. We
one
will
to
now,
cause a
don't worry.
fuss.
I'm not going to
It had made her seem more vulnerable, more disposable.
Brunson sucked. No, I'm kidding.
Judge Thorne
I'm not
allowed
going
a
to
thin,
overreact.
cruel smile to
This game
touch
was
his
a sight to
lips.
see. I really enjoyed watching.
He
this one.
lied.
It was.
It seems
looking
to be
like
a
it was
habit
about
of
to be a
his.
blowout.
But the lie is
And then
over
the Knicks
now.
Came back. They fought back. And
He
they
turned
made
to
it a
address
game
the
towards
stunned
end.
crowd.
What I will like to say is, the
I
Knicks
apologize
didn't
for the
really fight back.
interruption.
It was one guy
However, I'm
who
sure
felt
you'll all agree
35
that
points,
bigamy is generally
8 for
frowned
12 shooting
upon.
from deep.
As for the
Wizards,
Chance-Rossi
honestly, bro,
merger,
I'm
I would
sorry,
advise all
because you
shareholders
have
to
to take
sell
such
their
a
stock
backseat for
first
this
thing
team
tomorrow
when you are
morning.
such a good basketball player.
He
If
then
there's
looked
like an
directly at
archetype
the press
that
cameras in the back of the
I
room,
love in the
his
NBA,
face a
it's a
mask
wing
of
that can
judicial
defend the
fury.
perimeter.
And let the record show that as of this moment, the U.S. Attorney's Office, in conjunction with the SEC, has opened a formal investigation into the finances of Damian Vance and Vance Corporation. Chaos erupted. Marco Rossi was shouting at his lawyers. Isabella tore the ring from her finger and hurled it at Damian's chest. Guests were scrambling for the exits, whispering into their phones. The reporters surged forward, a frenzy of flashing cameras and shouted questions. Damian Vance stood alone at the altar, a groom with no bride, a king in a crumbling castle. The sweet scent of orchids now smelled like decay. In the span of 10 minutes, Judge Marcus Thorne had not just stopped a wedding, he had declared war. And Damian knew with a chilling certainty that settled deep in his bones that it was a war he was going to lose. The opulent ballroom had transformed into a war room. The Vivaldi was replaced by a cacophony of panicked phone calls and furious whispered arguments. Marco Rossi had cornered Damian against a pillar draped in white satin, his face contorted in a mask of pure rage.
And this is me being full transparency.
You're finished, Vance. You hear me? You brought this plague to my family's doorstep. You swore to me she was a nobody, a ghost. Marco jabbed a finger into Damian's chest. A federal judge's daughter, an SEC investigation. You've made me a laughingstock and a criminal target in one afternoon. Isabella stood nearby, talking to her own lawyer, her voice a low, venomous hiss. She didn't even look at Damian. To her, he was no longer a prize to be won, but a liability to be jettisoned. The future she had envisioned, a life of unchallenged power and social dominance, had evaporated. She had hitched her wagon to a falling star, and her fury was glacial. Damian felt like he was outside his own body, watching a movie of his life's spectacular implosion. Judge Thorne stood calmly in the center of the storm, speaking quietly with two well-dressed individuals who had entered with him. They had the unmistakable look of federal agents.
They even got a technical foul.
Damian's lawyer Abernathy finally pushed through the throng, his face slick with sweat. Damian, we need to go. Now, don't say a word to anyone. Go where Damian asked, his voice hollow. My life just detonated. We'll figure that out later. Right now we're in damage control. Abernathy's eyes darted nervously towards the judge. I can't believe you never told me her father was Marcus Thorne. The Iron Gavel. He once sent a billionaire to prison for 20 years for insider trading and barely broke a sweat. We are so far out of our league it isn't funny. Judge Thorne concluded his conversation and walked towards them, the crowd parting before him like the Red Sea. He stopped in front of Damian, his expression unreadable. I have a car waiting to take me to the hospital to meet my grandchildren. He said the words, a quiet condemnation. Before I go, I want you to understand the gravity of your situation. He gestured to one of the men he'd been speaking with. This is Agent Fitzpatrick from the SEC's Enforcement Division. You see, Mr. Vance, about 6 months ago, a rather concerned vice president in your accounting department noticed some irregularities. A pattern of transferring corporate funds through a series of shell companies, ultimately ending up in your personal offshore accounts. This VP, a decent man with a family, couldn't stomach it. So he started making copies. He became a whistleblower. Damian's blood turned to ice. David Peterson, the quiet, mousy VP he'd always thought was a spineless yes man. Mr. Peterson was smart. The judge continued. He didn't know who to trust, but he did know that your wife Alara was my daughter. He reached out to me not as a judge, but as a father he hoped would protect his own. For the last 4 months, Agent Fitzpatrick and his team have been building a case. We know about the funds you siphoned to inflate your company's value ahead of the merger. We know you used marital assets half owned by my daughter as collateral for high-risk loans to finance this sham deal. You didn't just betray your wife, Mr. Vance. You committed wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering. Every
And
word
I
was a
said,
nail
right
in
now,
his
this
coffin.
burnt NBA, it's
This
Karl
wasn't just a
Anthony Towns.
messy divorce. This was a federal case.
I
The kind
said,
that didn't end in
because
settlements, but in prison
he's a major
sentences.
front runner. He
Why
pisses me
Damien
off.
finally managed to
And
choke
his
out.
energy.
Why do all this?
Like
The
his-
public
his,
humiliation. A flicker of
God,
raw
what's the
emotion,
term?
the first
What's
he'd
the term
shown,
when, like,
crossed the judge's face.
somebody's like,
It was the incandescent rage
his
of a
body
father.
language, that's it. His
Because
body
you
language
left my daughter
demonstrated it.
alone, he said, his
body
voice
language
dropping to a
and
near
demeanor,
whisper, making it all the
It
more
looks like
menacing.
this dude doesn't want to play
You left her
basketball.
terrified and in agony, believing she had no one in the
Genuinely.
world while her body was fighting to give you
Like,
children you were already planning to
can't tell you how
discard.
many times on
You
the
tried
TV
to
last night
erase
I
her,
heard,
to
"Oh
render
my
her powerless.
God!"
I am simply ensuring that
Oh
you
my
are the one
God!
who is erased. That you have
Not a good
nothing.
impression, be honest.
No company, no money,
Karl
no
Anthony
freedom.
Towns just
You will
wants
have
free throws.
nothing to
Karl
offer
Anthony
your
Towns
children
just
but a
wants to
cautionary
flail his
tale.
arms.
He looked over at the
his
Rossi
head,
family, who were now trying
and
to
whenever
distance
something doesn't go
themselves
his
as
way,
quickly
what
as
does he do?
possible. As for your
Dumb
deal,
foul
it's dead.
after dumb
The
foul
SEC is
after
freezing
dumb foul.
all assets of Vance
That's one
Corporation
of my
pending the
personal favorite things about
investigation.
Karl Anthony Towns,
Your
especially
stock
when
will
the
be
Pistons play
worthless by
against him.
morning.
Even back
The
when he was
Vance
on the
Rossi
Timberwolves.
merger is officially
Just get him
toxic.
upset, and he's gonna do
With
a
that,
stupid foul that
Judge
gets him in foul
Thorne
trouble.
turned his back on the wreckage of Damien's life
Bro,
and
I was
walked
watching
away.
Karl Anthony Towns
The message was
struggle
clear.
against Hugo
The
Gonzalez.
trial in the court of law was yet to come, but the
That's what I was
verdict on
watching.
Damien Vance, the man, had already
Karl
been
Anthony
delivered.
Towns was struggling against
He was
a
guilty.
19-year-old kid in Hugo Gonzalez.
Abernathy grabbed
Doesn't
his
even
arm.
have a picture on Stat Music.
Damien, listen to me. Your only play right now is public
I
perception.
said this
You have
last
to go to
year.
the hospital. You have to be seen as the
New York
concerned
Knicks
father.
will not
It's the
win a
only card we
championship
have left to play.
with Karl
The thought of
Anthony Towns.
facing Alara,
Karl
of
Anthony
seeing
Towns
the
is not a
children
winner.
he had so callously
He's not a
betrayed,
winner. My
filled him
apologies.
with a
He's not a
profound
winner.
sense
I
of dread.
understand. I talked about
But
Jalen Brunson
Abernathy was
already. He had
right.
a bad game.
He had to try to
As-
salvage
as-
something, anything from
as a
the
basketball
ashes.
watcher, you can admit
Nodding
that Jalen
numbly,
Brunson had a
he
bad
allowed
game.
his
He's the
lawyer
reason
to
that they
guide
lost
him
last
through the
night.
gauntlet of reporters.
But I am telling
Their
you right
questions
now,
like blows,
Karl Anthony
Mr.
Towns
Vance,
cannot
is
win
it
at
true
all.
you're a bigamist? What's your
I'm guilty.
comment on the fraud allegations?
And whether you guys agree
Did you
or
know your
disagree,
wife was
that's
in
my
labor?
honest opinion.
He didn't answer.
Cat is
He
not
just
a
got
five.
into the
Cat
car.
has always been better
His
when he's
designer
had before.
suit feeling
The
like a
issue with that
shroud.
is they don't have a
He was
competent
being
five.
driven to a
They have
hospital
Mitchell
to see the
Robinson, who's
children
really
whose
good at
future he
offensive
had
rebounding.
stolen, all while their grandfather,
Listen, y'all, there's a
the
reason,
man
like,
he had
you shouldn't
scorned,
question
was
why the Knicks
methodically
traded Julius
orchestrating
Randle.
his
You
complete
shouldn't
and
question
utter
him,
ruin.
right?
The harsh fluorescent
The one thing
lights
that
of
you
the
should
hospital
question is,
hallway
why did Minnesota
felt a
just
world
willingly
away
trade
from
their
the
number 2
golden
guy
glow of the St.
after they
Regis.
just made the conference finals?
Here,
That
the
should have been a
air
dead
smelled of
giveaway, y'all.
antiseptic and
That should have been
anxiety,
a dead giveaway.
a stark
They just made the
reality
conference
check.
finals.
The sounds were not of string quartets,
And then they
but
just
of quiet
up and traded their
weeping
number
from a
2, and they
nearby
made the
room,
conference finals
and the
again
urgent
with the
squeaking
former
wheels of a
Knick.
gurney being
There's a
rushed
reason
down the
why
hall.
they did that. There's a reason why they traded
Alara
that.
was
Did
in the
people not
recovery
think,
room.
why would they get,
The C-section had been
we just
grueling, a
fleeced them.
terrifying
We just fleeced them.
ordeal,
Why did the Timberwolves
where the
give us
world
number
had
2? We
narrowed
just
to
fleeced them.
Dr.
Well, you've
Chen's
seen why.
urgent commands and the unnerving silence of a baby
Jay
who
Nasty,
wasn't
I'd like to
crying.
give a special shout out to Jay
For one
Nasty
heart-stopping
for coming
minute
through to
after
the Twitch
Amelia,
stream and
the
dropping a
smallest of the
follow.
three,
My
was
boy,
born,
welcome to the community.
there had been nothing.
Good to have you.
Just the frantic work of the neonatal team.
Okay, I think I'm
And
done
then a
with my
tiny,
Knicks talk. I talked about
furious
how good the
wail
game was from
had
Cal Bridges. I
sliced
talked
through
about
the
how bad of a
tension,
game
the
it was
most
from Jalen
beautiful
Brunson.
sound
And I
Alara
talked
had
about
ever
how
heard.
uninspiring
Now they lay in 3
of a game
separate,
that was from Karl Anthony
clear-sided
Towns. If I hear any
bassinets
Knicks
beside
fan
her
say,
bed.
We were missing Landry
Liam,
Shamet.
the
We were
firstborn,
missing, no.
with a
We talk
shock
about
of
missing
dark
OG
hair
Anunoby, but
just
let's not
like
bring up that
hers.
Landry Shamet talk, bro. This is
Noah
2025. We
calm
ain't
and
talking-
watchful,
we ain't talking about Landry
his eyes
Shamet.
already
He's a good
seeming to
player.
take
He's a
in
good
the
player on
world.
defense. Jay Nasty
And
came
tiny
into the Twitch
Amelia,
stream
so
and, I'm gonna
fragile,
read this comment.
yet
It said,
so
"Jalen Brunson's
fierce,
the
a
lead.
little
The
fighter
Knicks will never
who had
win with
already
him."
won her
Think
first
about
battle.
the last time someone
They were
won with an
perfect.
undersized guard as their main
They were
guy.
hers. And as she looked at their 3 sleeping faces,
Jay
a new strength,
Curry?
cold and clear as steel,
times?
settled in her heart.
Um,
The pain of Damien's betrayal
I'm all
was still
for-
there,
I'm all
a
for
raw,
you coming to the
gaping
Twitch
wound.
stream. This is
But it
why
was
we do these
overshadowed
podcasts
by a
live, ladies and
fierce,
gentlemen, because we get
primal
things that we
wave
just
of
don't
love
predict
and
here.
protection
Nobody else
for
is
these
doing it
3
like us.
small
Yeah, I mean,
beings.
Kyrie, Steph Curry.
They
Listen,
were her
Jalen
legacy,
Brunson is a very talented
not
player.
his.
I hate him.
Her sister
Personally,
Sarah
think
was
Jalen
beside
Brunson's in
her,
my top
holding
three
her
most hated
hand.
players in the NBA. There is
A few
one thing
minutes
I will
later,
say about
the
Jalen
door
Brunson,
opened,
though.
and Judge
No,
Marcus
Brunson will never
Thorne
be better
walked
than
in.
Curry. No.
His
Heath, when was the
stern,
last time
judicial
you seen one
mask
with an
was
undersized
gone.
guard? I'm gonna explain why
In
I
its
hate Jalen Brunson.
place
I need to explain
was
my
the face
hatred.
of a father
I love
and a
basketball,
grandfather.
and I love basketball first and
His
foremost,
eyes
number one, right?
filled with a love and
No, I like the
regret
Knicks as a
so
franchise. I love the
profound
Knicks, man. I had
it made
Carmelo's
Alara's
shoes when he
throat
was on the
ache.
Knicks.
Ellie,
mained the Knicks back
he
on
whispered, his voice thick
2K11,
with
2K12,
emotion.
2K13 with Marries.
Tears
I
welled
love
in
the
her
Knicks
eyes.
franchise. Very historic franchise.
Dad. He crossed
In
the
case you
room
guys
in
are
2
wondering why I
strides
do hate
and
the New York Knicks,
enveloped
I don't know
her
if
in
I
a
ever made
hug,
it known.
careful of her
Or, sorry,
incision.
why I hate Jalen Brunson.
I'm so sorry,
I
he
guess
said,
I
his
hate
voice
Knicks by
breaking.
association now because
I'm
he's the
sorry
most
I
hated
wasn't
player
here.
in the NBA for
I'm
me.
sorry I let my pride keep
Around
me
the
away.
towns.
I
King
should have.
Moose, I love that question
I
that you
should
just
have
said.
fought
I will get
harder
back
for
to
you.
Okay.
You're here now.
Jalen Brunson.
She
is an
sobbed into
incredible
his
talent.
shoulder.
He is a great.
That's all that
player.
matters.
He is a
You're here
great,
now.
Great.
He pulled
player.
back
I'm not denying
and
his
looked at the
skill,
bassinets, his
footwork,
gaze
his
softening.
finesse, his ability to finish around the rim.
My God,
his
he murmured,
shot
reaching out a
creation
hand
ability,
to
his
gently touch
playmaking.
Liam's cheek.
I'm not
They're
denying Jalen
beautiful,
Brunson's skill.
just like their mother.
That dude is a monster.
They stood in a quiet bubble of
I love watching
reunion
him play
and
when
new
he's not against
beginnings,
my team.
a broken family starting to stitch itself back together.
Well, actually,
It
I'm
was into
changing-
this
no,
sacred
I'm
space
restructuring
that
what I
Damian
just said
Vance,
because I hated
flanked
watching
by
him
his
against the
lawyer,
Pacers.
chose to
I hated
walk.
watching him against the
He stopped in the
Celtics.
doorway, taking in the scene.
I love his passion. Exactly.
Alara, pale and exhausted, but
My
radiating a
biggest issue
strength
with
he'd
Jalen
never
Brunson,
seen before.
and I hope
Her
you guys
father,
don't
his
get upset
sworn
when I say
enemy,
this,
standing
okay?
guard
Because
like a
once
sentinel.
again, I'm not denying
And the
his
3
ability to play
babies,
basketball. So nobody
his
think-
children.
Nobody
For the
think
first time, the
that I'm
reality of
denying
what he
his
had done
skill,
hit him
okay?
not as a strategic blunder, but as a
So I'm reading the
profound
TikTok comments as
personal
well,
failure.
Just so you know, but I respond more
These were
to
not
the Twitch chat.
inconvenient
Twitch chat actually
details.
wants to have conversation.
They were
That's why
tiny,
I prioritize
perfect
my
human
Twitch chat. So I have a
beings.
couple questions from the Twitch
His
chat right
flesh
now that I'm
and blood.
actually responding. I do read the TikTok.
Abernathy gave him a
because
slight
most of the
push.
Things that I respond to
Go on.
are engaging
Be the father.
conversation.
Damien took a hesitant
People
step
ask
into the
questions,
room.
People want my opinion on something.
Alara's head
That's
snapped up.
typically in the Twitch stream. If
The
you guys
warmth in
want
her
to get
eyes
involved in a real
vanished,
conversation,
replaced by a
kind
frozen
of follow
calm.
Twitch. I shout out
Judge
everybody
Thorne
in the
moved to
segment.
stand
Okay.
directly between Damien
Guys,
and
listen.
Alara's bed.
I do not.
You are not
I need to
welcome
get
here,
out of my
Mr.
phone.
Vance, the judge
do
said, his
not
voice low and
enjoy
final.
Watching Jalen
I have a
Brunson.
right to
I
see
do
my
appreciate
children,
his skill.
Damien
He is
said, his voice
undeniably one of the
pleading.
best point guards in the NBA
It was a
right now.
performance, but
So
a
do
part of
not
him,
take
a
offense
small
when I say
buried
this.
part,
I
actually
do
meant
not
it.
Enjoy
A right?
the foul, baby.
Alara's voice, though
I say the
weak,
same
cut
thing for
through the
Shea
air
Gilgeous
like
Alexander.
by
I say the
glass.
same thing for any other
You have
player in
no
the NBA.
rights here.
I'm going
Rights
to
are
get-
earned.
and please,
You were
before
busy
guys
earning a
flip
new
out,
wife.
Before you guys freak out,
She looked
please
at him,
understand where I'm
truly,
coming from.
looked at him,
Cade Cunningham
and
is
saw not the
the star of
charming,
my team,
ambitious man
right?
she had fallen in love with,
Another player
but a
I enjoy
stranger.
watching is Anthony Edwards.
a hollow
okay?
man, animated
Both of those
only by
players
greed.
Don't
The love
seek
she had felt for
contact.
him had been
Okay?
burned
Now,
away,
nobody get
cauterized
offended
by the
me
sheer
saying
heat
that,
of
okay?
his
I'm
betrayal.
Just speaking purely
All that was
off of
left
watching
was
basketball,
ash.
Okay?
I want to see them, Ellie.
Please,
Please, he begged, his eyes fixed on the bassinets. Slowly, painfully, Alara pushed herself up. With Sarah's help, she stood her body screaming in protest. She walked the few steps to the bassinets and stood before them, creating a human shield. Their names are Liam, Noah, and Amelia. She said, her voice shaken but firm. I want you to look at them, Damien. I want you to see their faces, because this is the last time you will ever be this close to them.
Incredible. He is unbelievable.
Damien's face
right?
crumpled.
And I understand that Jalen Brunson is
Alara,
6'2".
don't do this.
I understand that.
We can work something
That
out.
does not validate.
A settlement. A settlement. She repeated the word as if it were poison. You think you can put a price on this? You think you can buy your way back into their lives? You don't get to do that. You don't get to be the weekend dad who swoops in with expensive gifts to ease his conscience.
He does not watch basketball anymore.
You don't get to be their father. You abdicated that role today at an altar at the St. Regis. She took a deep breath, the finality of her decision solidifying within her.
What's he?
You will have no parental rights. I will file for sole custody on the grounds of abandonment and moral endangerment. My father will represent me. You can fight it. You can drag your name and what's left of your reputation through the mud for years, but you will lose, just like you've lost everything else. She turned to her father. Dad, please get him out of here. Judge Thorne nodded and took a step towards Damien. You heard my daughter. Get out. Damien looked from Alara's resolute face to the judge's implacable one, and finally at the 3 sleeping babies he would never know. He had traded them for a merger that was now worthless for a woman who now despised him for a future that was now a prison cell.
Throw that head
He had
back.
made the worst deal of his life. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the room. The sound of the door clicking shut behind him was the sound of a life ending. His life with them. Elara collapsed back onto the bed. Tears of exhaustion, grief, and a strange, liberating relief streaming down her face.
This is not defending them.
She had cut the final tie.
They know
It was over.
how to get you in the air.
She looked at her father, her sister, and her 3 beautiful children.
Do that pump fake.
It was
See
just
jump,
them
and
now.
he'll jump into him. Now, the NBA said
It
that
was
they
a
were doing
new
away with that.
family, born from the ashes
They
of
said
a
that they were
great
doing away with that,
betrayal.
and they didn't.
And for the first
didn't.
time in a very
They still do
long
it.
time, Elara felt
You know,
the faint,
I'm reading this
flickering
comment right now on
stirrings
TikTok.
of hope.
John said Shay and Luca are
The
much
story
more talented than
exploded
Brunson.
across
I
the
think
media
size plays a
landscape
part.
like a
When you're
wildfire.
that small, which
It
Brunson
had
is,
everything: wealth, sex,
he needed to
betrayal,
find something
a
that
high-stakes
could go to,
corporate
and
merger,
unfortunately, foul
and the
bait is one of those
delicious
things. Now, that
karmic
does not take away
downfall
from
of a
his skill.
titan.
He is an unbelievable
News
talent.
outlets
Killed us
dubbed
in
it
playoffs
the
last
St.
year.
Regis
I
scandal.
like his skill at
Paparazzi
basketball is
swarmed the
undeniable,
hospital and
but,
Damien's
I'm
penthouse.
just not a fan of
The
anybody
headlines
that
were
foul baits,
brutal:
and that's the
bigamist
honest
billionaire
truth,
CEO
okay? You know what?
dumps
You do not
laboring
defend
wife for
Jalen
heiress
Brunson. Believe
iron.
me, TikTok,
Gavel's
Twitter,
revenge.
YouTube, nobody
Judge
needs to
obliterates
defend Jalen
son-in-law's
Brunson.
wedding
I'm
and
defending him.
empire.
He is an elite
Vance
talent,
Corps
and
in
he's
free
incredible.
fall after
He
CEO's
just so
fraud
happens to also
revealed.
foul bait.
Just as Judge Thorne had
He's been doing it
predicted
less
when the
this
stock
year, I
market
will admit.
opened on Monday
Meanwhile,
morning,
Shay and Luca have
Vance
sort of turned it
Corporation's
up.
stock didn't just drop.
I'm not a fan of it.
It
I'm a fan of
plummeted
ethical
off a
hoops and
cliff.
paid Cunningham plays
The
like
price
sweet
cratered
jazz
by
music,
over
bro.
90% within the
that's
first
good.
hour
Now,
of
for
trading.
everybody that has just tuned in,
The board
in
of
case you guys need
directors, a
recap
group
what we
of
talked
ruthless
about,
individuals
if you guys
who
have missed some
valued
of the
profit
topics of
above
discussion,
all else,
be sure to,
convened an
follow the
emergency
Spotify,
meeting.
follow the YouTube
Their
channel,
decision
the
was
support side.
swift and
We're
unanimous.
also on Apple Podcasts.
Damien Vance
We
was
talked
terminated
about,
as
first of all,
CEO, effective
we talked about
immediately
Zion
for
Williamson,
gross misconduct and actions
in case you guys don't know,
detrimental
Chris
to the
Paul was
company.
cut by the Clippers.
They issued a
Zion
public
Williamson
statement
is
condemning
going to be
his
evaluated
personal
another
and
3 weeks.
professional
We talked about
behavior,
that. And then we just
effectively
broke down the
throwing
Knicks
him
and
under
Celtics
the
game.
bus
I
to
didn't even
save
talk about
what
the
little
Celtics.
they could
Listen,
of the
Jaylen Brown
company.
he was undeniable.
The Rossi
Like,
family was
Jaylen Brown
equally
was
swift
crazy.
in their
Shout out
damage
Jaylen
control.
Brown, 42 points.
Their
He was playing out
patriarch,
of his
Marco
mind.
Rossi,
Jordan
held a
Walsh,
press conference.
bro, you
He
had,
painted
like,
his
4
daughter
offensive
Isabella
rebounds
as a
at the end of the
victim,
game that
a
sealed
woman
this game.
deceived
You
by a
stopped them personally
pathological
from coming
liar.
back.
The
Hugo
Vance Rossi
Gonzalez
merger
playing
was
absolutely
declared dead, with the
disgusting
Rossis
against
publicly
Karl
thanking
Anthony
Judge
Towns.
Thorne
I already
for
talked about how bad
exposing the
Cat was.
deep-seated
There's
corruption
no
within
player
Vance
doing that.
Corporation
Jalen Pritchard
before
had a
their
horrible
companies
night.
were irrevocably
Bro, Hugo
linked.
Gonzalez, man.
Privately,
I just gotta
they hired
admit,
the
I
most
was not
aggressive
familiar with
lawyers
your
in
game
the city to
whatsoever.
ensure
You weren't
none
doing
of the
anything
financial
against
or
Jalen
legal
Green and
shrapnel
Isaiah
from
Stewart.
Damien's
But for Karl
implosion
Anthony Towns,
hit them.
bro, you made Karl
Isabella,
Anthony Towns
after
look like he was
one
6
tearful
foot.
scripted television interview
Beautiful, man.
about her
Just
shattered
beautiful
heart,
stuff.
disappeared
Beautiful
to a private resort in St.
I'd
Bart's,
love to
erasing
hear it.
Damien from her life
I'd love to
as
hear it, man.
easily
It's
as
fun.
deleting a
It's fun.
contact from
All
her
right,
phone.
guys, let's move on to our last
For Damien,
subject.
the world
Sorry, our
shrank
last
to the
topic.
4
This one's
walls of his
different,
lawyer's
okay?
office.
This isn't going
His
to be
assets
like
were frozen.
false or any of that.
His
I
corporate
appreciate
credit
all the
cards
calls
were
over there on
canceled.
TikTok.
The locks on
I
his
do appreciate you
penthouse
guys.
were
Now that
changed
we're
by the
moving into our
building's
last
board.
segment
He was
of,
served with
today's
divorce
episode,
papers,
now's the
a
perfect
restraining
time
order
to
keeping
take a
him
second,
500
drop
feet
a
from
like on
Elara
whatever you're
and the
watching,
children, and a
follow.
federal
We do
subpoena.
these, morning shows,
The friends who had
Monday
once
through Friday
clamored
at
for
9
his
a.m.
attention
Eastern live.
now sent his
And if you guys
calls to
do wanna get
voicemail.
involved, do
He was a
exactly what
pariah,
Tony Master
a social
Breeze did,
leper.
and
The
follow
legal
Twitch
battle
stream.
was not a
Links in
battle
my
at
bio.
all.
That's typically where I
It was
read
a
most of the messages
siege.
to get conversations involved.
Judge Thorne,
Oh, wait,
acting
I
as
wanted to
Elara's
respond.
private counsel,
The
was
homie,
relentless.
in the Twitch stream,
He used
King
his
Bruce,
encyclopedic
asked me a
knowledge
great
of the
question
law
that I wanna
and his
say
network
before
of
we move on to our
contacts
last
to
segment.
systematically
He said, "What does it
dismantle
take to
every
win
defense
championship?"
Abernathy tried to mount. Damien's
Great
attempts to
question.
claim shared custody were laughed out of
Here's
court.
the thing.
His
I haven't
arguments
talked
about
about
marital
Giannis yet.
assets
Maybe
were
I
countered
should.
with meticulously documented proof of his
Let's talk
fraud.
about it. Giannis
He was forced to
Antetokounmpo
watch from
just
afar
deleted
as
all his
Elara's
social
life
media,
began anew. He saw pictures of
last
her
4
leaving
years.
the hospital,
He
her father
deleted
holding one
everything
baby
Bucks
carrier,
related,
her sister another. He saw
excluding
articles
winning the
celebrating her
championship and winning the
strength,
cup.
framing her as a
And
symbol
he's
of
just deleted
resilience.
everything. I don't
She
know
and
what
the
this
children
means
moved into her father's stately
for Giannis,
home in Connecticut,
Unfortunately for me,
a fortress
the
of
Pistons
quiet
played
dignity he
Giannis
could not
today
breach.
And I feel
The
like
federal investigation ground on relentless and methodical. The whistleblower, David Peterson, provided a roadmap for the SEC detailing every illegal transfer, every cooked book. Damien was buried under a mountain of evidence. Abernathy, seeing the writing on the wall, advised him to take a plea deal. 6 months after that fateful day at the St. Regis, Damien Vance stood before a federal judge, a colleague of Marcus Thorne's, who looked at him with undisguised contempt. He was no longer the sharp, commanding CEO. His expensive suit hung on his thinner frame. His face was gaunt, and his eyes were hollowed out by sleepless nights and the gnawing acid of regret. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of securities fraud. The judge's sentencing was scathing. You possessed every advantage a person could ask for intelligence wealth and a family on the verge of welcoming 3 new lives. You squandered it all on the altar of your own greed. You betrayed not only the trust of your shareholders, but the sacred trust of your wife and your unborn children. Your actions were not just illegal, they were a profound moral failure. The sentence was handed down 10 years in a federal medium security prison. As U.S. Marshals led him from the courtroom, he caught a glimpse of a news report on a nearby monitor. It was a human interest piece about Elara Vance. She was being interviewed in a sunlit park, her 3 babies now healthy, and giggling 6-month-olds playing on a blanket at her feet. She was talking about her new foundation, one dedicated to providing legal and financial support for women and children abandoned in crisis situations. She looked happy, peaceful, strong. The image of her radiant smile, a smile he had once owned and had so carelessly thrown away, was the last thing he saw before the doors of the courthouse closed behind him, plunging his world into shadow. He had lost his company, his fortune, and his freedom. But in that moment, seeing the beautiful family he could never be a part of, he finally understood the true depth of what he had lost. He hadn't just lost a life, he had lost a soul. 2 years felt like both a lifetime and the blink of an eye. The immediate aftermath of the triplets' birth had been a blur of joyful chaos, a whirlwind of round-the-clock feedings, diaper changes, and the overwhelming, terrifying, beautiful reality of being a new mother to 3 infants at once. The media frenzy had been a storm raging just outside their windows. For weeks, paparazzi had camped outside the hospital and then her father's Connecticut estate. But inside, Marcus Thorne had created a fortress of tranquility. He screened every call, handled every press inquiry with a curt, no comment, and allowed Elara the space to heal both physically and emotionally, surrounded by the demanding, all-consuming love of her newborns. She had shed the Vance surname as one might shed a heavy, soiled coat, reclaiming her own name, Elara Thorne. It felt like coming home. The chasm that had existed between her and her father vanished, filled in by the shared work of caring for the babies. She watched the formidable iron gavel melt into Grandpa, a man who could command a courtroom with a glare, but was utterly powerless against the gummy smile of his granddaughter Amelia. He learned to distinguish the cries of Liam, the hungry one, from Noah, the one who just needed a cuddle. The quiet, stately home of a retired judge was transformed, filled with the clutter of baby gear, the constant hum of a bottle warmer, and the sound of a grandfather's deep voice, reading nursery rhymes. As the months turned into years, the triplets' personalities blossomed 3 distinct flowers from a single root.
Have a dynasty.
Liam was a force of nature, a tiny climber and explorer with an unquenchable curiosity and a complete disregard for gravity. He was a creature of scraped knees and triumphant giggles, his motto a resounding, "Me do it!" Marcus shadowed him with the vigilant eye of a Secret Service agent, his heart leaping into his throat at least once a day. Noah was the old soul, the watcher. He had his grandfather's pensive eyes and his mother's gentle heart. He would sit for hours, utterly content with a book of pictures, his brow furrowed in concentration. He was the first to notice when his mother looked tired, patting her cheek with his small hand in a gesture of profound, unspoken comfort. He was her anchor, her quiet shadow. And Amelia was without question the one in charge. She was a whirlwind of dark curls and sparkling eyes, a tiny diplomat who had both her brothers and her grandfather wrapped around her little finger. She ruled their small kingdom with a combination of irresistible charm and unwavering determination. She was the first to talk, the first to sing, and the first to decide what game they would all play next. It was during a sleepless night, rocking a feverish Noah back and forth, that the idea for her future took shape. Scrolling through her phone, she'd stumbled upon an online forum for single mothers. She read story after story of women in far more desperate situations than her own women fleeing abuse with nothing but the clothes on their backs, women abandoned without financial resources, drowning in legal fees and despair.
It would be insane.
Her own story, as traumatic as it had been, was cushioned by her father's power and resources. These women had no one. The injustice of it burned in her. Damien had tried to render her powerless, but she had a voice, a name, and a platform. She would use it for them. Thus, the Thorn Legacy Project was born. It began in her father's study with late-night legal consultations, and Alara dusting off her old architecture degree. Her passion was reignited, but with a powerful new purpose. She didn't want to design sterile glass towers for corporations anymore. She wanted to build sanctuaries. Her first project was ambitious, a state-of-the-art housing complex for families in crisis. She obsessed over the details, designing apartments with soundproofed walls, communal kitchens where mothers could support each other, and an on-site trauma-informed daycare. She designed a central courtyard garden, a secure, beautiful place where children could simply play and be children. She poured every ounce of her pain, her anger, and her resilience into those blueprints. One crisp autumn afternoon, Ilara was on the floor of the living room building an elaborate block tower with her children. Liam was the demolition expert, Noah the meticulous planner, and Amelia the project supervisor. The scene was one of perfect, chaotic, domestic bliss. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a news alert forwarded by Sarah. The headline read, "Former CEO Damien Vance granted early release on parole after serving 2 years of 10-year sentence for good behavior." Below it was a photograph. A gaunt, hollow-eyed man with graying hair, wearing an ill-fitting state-issued suit, walking out of the prison gates. He was blinking against the sunlight, looking lost and insignificant. The swaggering, confident predator she had married was gone. In his place was a ghost. A cold tremor, a phantom limb of old fear went through her. For a moment she was back in that hospital room alone and screaming. Then Liam, with a wild cry of delight, sent the block tower crashing down. Amelia squealed. Noah laughed. And the present, vibrant and loud and full of life, came rushing back in. She looked at the man in the photo again. He was a stranger. a relic from a buried life. The power he once held over her was gone, turned to ash. Later that evening, after the children were asleep, she found her father in his study reading a legal brief. She showed him the article. He read it, his expression hardening.
What's up, baby?
"I can make a call," he said, his voice low.
Before we talk a little bit more,
His parole officer will be under no illusions about the terms. The restraining order is still in full effect. He won't come within 1,000 yards of you or the children. Elara placed her hand on his. "I know, but you don't have to. I'm not afraid of him anymore, Dad." She saw the relief and pride in his eyes. It was true. The man in that picture held no power. He was just a sad, broken man who had made all the wrong choices. Her life was here in this house with her family. Her future was on her drafting table in the homes she was building for others. The next weekend, she was at a park, pushing her children on the swings. It was a perfect day, the sky a brilliant, cloudless blue. Liam was shouting, "Higher, Mommy, higher," trying to kick the sky. Noah was swinging gently, a peaceful smile on his face, while Amelia sang a slightly off-key song to herself. Marcus came and stood beside her, watching his grandchildren. "I was thinking about the word legacy today," he said, his voice reflective. Damien wanted to build a legacy of power, an empire of steel and glass. Look what happened. It was built on a rotten foundation. It collapsed. He turned to her, his eyes filled with a profound admiration. "You, Ellie, you went through hell, and you came back and chose to build something that lasts. You build homes, you build safety, you build hope. That is a legacy. This," he said, gesturing to the laughing children, to her, to the life they had all built together. "This is an empire of the heart, and it will never fall." Elara looked at her 3 beautiful children, their faces alight with pure joy. She thought of the families who would soon be moving into her first completed project, finding safety and a new beginning. Damien's name would be a footnote in business textbooks about corporate scandal. Her name, the name she shared with her father and her children, would be etched into the cornerstones of buildings where lives were being rebuilt. She smiled a genuine, peaceful smile that reached her eyes and filled her soul. She gave Liam's swing another powerful push, sending him soaring up into the endless, brilliant sky. And so Elara's story comes to a close. It began in the depths of unimaginable betrayal, with screams of pain in a lonely hospital room. But it didn't end there. It became a story not of a victim, but of a survivor. A woman who, with the help of a father's fierce love, found the strength to not only reclaim her life, but to build an entirely new one dedicated to helping others rise from their own ashes. Damien Vance chased a legacy of power and ended up with nothing. Elara Thorne built a legacy of love and light, proving that our greatest strength is often forged in our deepest pain. What did you think of Elara's incredible journey to justice and peace? What would you have done in her situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story of resilience and retribution moved you, please give this video a like. Share it with someone who loves a powerful story, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more tales of triumph over trial. Thank you for listening.